Ethan had always thought that being a human diplomat on the Galactic Embassy station would be serious work. Endless meetings, careful words, and awkward handshakes with alien dignitaries filled his days. But today was different. Today, something unexpected had happened. It started in the main hall of the embassy, a place that gleamed with polished metal floors and floating holographic banners showing different planets. Humans were rare here, but Ethan moved through the crowd with a quiet confidence. He was used to alien eyes following him, sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with suspicion. That's when he saw her, Princess Liara of Frostris. She was the kind of alien people whispered about in diplomatic circles. Tall, with silvery blue skin that shimmered under the station lights, eyes as deep as frozen lakes, and a presence that made the room feel colder, literally, because Frostrians were used to icy climates. Her hair flowed like liquid crystal, and her royal robes glimmered with strange patterns that no human could replicate. Ethan felt a nervous shiver. "Great," he muttered under his breath. "First time meeting a princess, and I look like I just rolled out of bed." Liara moved gracefully among the crowd, her gaze sweeping the room. When her eyes landed on Ethan, he froze. He wasn't sure if it was recognition or curiosity. She tilted her head slightly as if studying him. Ethan swallowed and forced a small smile. "Hello, Princess Liara," he said, bowing politely, though not too deep. Humans rarely bowed too low. It looked strange. "Greetings, human," Liara replied. Her voice soft but commanding, her accent was musical, almost like bells ringing in snow. Ethan was immediately aware of how different her words felt. The room around them seemed to fade as they talked. It was supposed to be a short diplomatic exchange, but Liara's curiosity was tangible. She asked him simple questions about human life. What humans ate, how humans dressed, what humans did for fun. Ethan answered honestly, feeling oddly relaxed. Then came the joke. "You must feel cold here sometimes," Ethan said, glancing around. The embassy was warm by Frostris standards, but he knew her planet's people were used to freezing temperatures. He smirked. "I have something that might help." He shrugged off his jacket, a simple human fleece, and held it out. "Here, try this." Just a joke, of course. Humans are warm-blooded, but you never know. Liara's eyes widened. She stepped closer, curious, and took the jacket in her long, elegant hands. For a moment she just looked at it, turning it over as if it were a delicate artifact. "Human clothing," she said softly. "You wear this for warmth?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, it's not fancy, but it does the job." There was a pause. Then, with a small shy smile, Liara slipped the jacket over her shoulders. It hung awkwardly around her arms and fell nearly to her knees. Ethan's mouth went dry. She looked up at him. "It is comfortable," she admitted. Ethan laughed nervously. "I meant it as a joke. I didn't think you'd actually..." But Liara's gaze held his, and there was no sign of removing it. Instead, she seemed pleased. Ethan had expected her to smile politely and hand it back. Instead, she walked away slowly, still wearing the oversized jacket, her long robe swaying. Beneath it, Ethan blinked. "Well, that didn't go as planned," he muttered. He felt a mix of embarrassment and amusement. Only a Frostrian princess would take a joke this literally and somehow make it look elegant. Over the next few hours, Ethan found himself stealing glances at her across the hall. She moved with the same regal grace, but there was something different now. A human touch, a small sign of connection that made her seem less distant, more approachable. When he finally caught up to her near the embassy garden, he noticed how the jacket had been adjusted to her frame. The sleeves were folded neatly, the hem tucked just enough to allow movement, and she had even pinned a small, glowing brooch over the chest to keep it in place. Ethan felt a laugh rise in his throat. "Still wearing it?" he asked, unable to hide his amusement. Liara looked at him, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "You said it was a joke. I think humans have strange ways of showing care. I wish to understand them." Ethan blinked. "You mean The jacket? Yes, she said simply, and then almost shyly, it is warm. And I like it. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had offered the jacket as a fleeting joke, never imagining it would matter. And now somehow it did. He chuckled awkwardly. Well, I guess it suits you. Liara gave a small nod and started walking back toward the embassy center, her jacket flowing behind her like a flag. Ethan followed at a distance, not wanting to interrupt, but he couldn't stop thinking about how something so small, a simple human jacket, had bridged the gap between species. For the first time in his diplomatic career, he realized that humans had more to offer than careful words or clever negotiations. Humor, kindness, and small gestures could reach even the most distant hearts. By the time the evening ended, Ethan knew one thing. The jacket was gone, at least from his hands. But somehow, it had left a mark, not just on Liara, but on him too. And, as he watched her walk away, he couldn't help but wonder, would this little joke be the start of something much bigger? The next morning, Ethan walked into the embassy hall, still feeling the strange warmth from the previous day. He was sure Liara had returned to her normal royal ways and had tossed the jacket aside. After all, it was just a joke. But then he saw her, Princess Liara, moving gracefully among the alien diplomats, still wearing his jacket. It hung over her silvery blue shoulders just like yesterday, but today she had adjusted it in a new way. The sleeves were tucked neatly, and the glowing brooch that kept it in place shimmered softly under the embassy lights. Ethan froze for a moment, unsure if he should feel proud, embarrassed, or completely confused. "Good morning, Princess Liara," he said cautiously, approaching her. "Good morning, human," she replied, her tone friendly, almost playful. She turned slightly so he could see the jacket better. "It is comfortable. I wore it again." Ethan blinked. "You wore it again?" Liara nodded. "Yes. Humans seem to have customs involving clothing and warmth. I am learning them." Ethan laughed nervously. "I didn't think you'd actually accept them," she asked softly, tilting her head. "Perhaps. I like to try new things. I like this jacket." Ethan felt a strange flutter in his chest. It was one thing to lend someone a jacket for a laugh. It was another to have it become part of their daily life. Somehow, his simple joke was turning into a habit. For a princess. Over the next few days, Ethan noticed a pattern. Every time he met Liara, she wore his jacket. Sometimes it was draped over her shoulders, sometimes zipped up like a coat, sometimes folded carefully at the cuffs. She even began to combine it with her royal robes, creating an unusual but striking look that drew curious glances from other diplomats. At first, Ethan tried to ignore it. Surely she would return it soon. But then something unexpected happened. The alien diplomat started to comment on it. "Does the princess always wear that human garment?" asked one of the Frostrian advisors, voice tinged with disapproval. "It is unusual," said another alien from a desert planet. "Is this a human attempt at influence?" Ethan felt his stomach tighten. He hadn't meant for it to cause any trouble. He had only wanted a laugh. But now what was a small joke was being noticed and questioned. He approached Liara privately in the embassy gardens, where ice-blue fountains shimmered and holographic plants floated in midair. "Princess, you know, some people are talking about the jacket," he said, choosing his words carefully. "It's not a big deal, but they see it as human influence." Liara smiled softly. "I am aware, but I do not mind. I like it. That is enough for me." Ethan couldn't help but grin. Her honesty was refreshing, but it also made him nervous. Being a diplomat was complicated, and Liara seemed to ignore all the rules in favor of simple human comfort. Over time, he began to notice other things about the jacket. It was more than warmth. It was becoming a part of her daily life. When she attended meetings, the jacket softened her rigid royal appearance. When she moved through the hall, it gave her a playful edge that was uncommon for royalty. Ethan realized something he hadn't expected. The jacket was changing how he saw her. She was no longer just a distant, elegant princess. She was curious, playful, and somehow vulnerable in a way that made him want to protect her. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Liara sent him a holographic message. Ethan activated it in his quarters, expecting a routine diplomatic briefing. Instead, Liara appeared before him wearing his jacket. Her hair shimmered like silver under the soft light of her hologram, and she smiled shyly. "I wore it again," she said simply. "I like it. Do not take it back." Ethan stared at the hologram. He had never felt such a mix of pride, amusement, and surprise. I'm not taking it back," he replied, smiling. "It looks good on you." Liara tilted her head, and for a moment Ethan thought he saw her blush, though he wasn't sure if Frostrians even blushed the same way humans did. Over the next week, Ethan found himself looking for her in the halls, just to see the jacket. He watched how she adjusted it, how she moved in it, how it made her look approachable yet regal. He even caught himself thinking about ways to improve it, maybe a small patch here, a tiny adjustment there. Ideas that had nothing to do with diplomacy and everything to do with wanting her comfort. At the same time, he saw how other species reacted. Some were curious, some amused, some slightly annoyed. Would deny the days passed and the embassy buzzed with activity as diplomats from countless worlds moved between meetings, debates, and cultural demonstrations. But for Ethan, one thing stood out more than any interstellar protocol: the sight of Princess Liara in his jacket. It had become a habit now. Every time they met, the jacket was there, draped over her shoulders or zipped snugly around her. Ethan could no longer deny it. He looked forward to it. There was a warmth in her choice, a subtle acknowledgement of him that made his usually careful human heart beat a little faster. One afternoon, while a human Frostrian cultural exchange event was being held in the embassy garden, Ethan found himself walking beside Liara. Floating holographic flowers glimmered around them, and the soft hum of alien music filled the air. "You seem comfortable here," Ethan said, gesturing to the garden and the various alien guests. Liara adjusted the jacket over her shoulders. "Yes, humans have an interesting way of arranging spaces. There is balance here. Order, yet openness." Ethan smiled. "It's true. We like balance and openness. Though sometimes humans get carried away with decorations." She laughed, softly, a sound like crystal chimes. "I enjoy seeing these differences. On my planet, spaces are rigid and functional. Here, there is freedom." Ethan realized that this conversation was different from any formal discussion in the embassy hall. Here the rules were simpler. Here he was just a human and she was just curious. And in this simplicity, something deeper was forming. They stopped near a fountain and Liara carefully examined the flowing water. "Your planet, Earth? It is small compared to others," she said after a pause. "Yet humans have done much. It is remarkable." Ethan shrugged modestly. "We do what we can. I guess humans are persistent." Liara tilted her head, her silver blue eyes thoughtful. "Persistent? Yes. And courageous. I notice this in you. You do not seem afraid to be yourself, even here among so many different beings." Ethan felt a strange heat in his chest. Compliments from a Frostrian princess were rare, and this one felt personal. "Thanks," he said softly. "I try." They continued walking, sharing small stories. Ethan told her about simple human customs, festivals, games, jokes, and traditions that made humans unique. Liara listened intently, her head tilted, her eyes wide with curiosity. Then she shared tales from Frostris, harsh winters, floating ice palaces, survival techniques, and the honor customs of her people. Through these exchanges, Ethan began to see her differently. Liara was not only elegant and intelligent, she was playful, curious, and brave in her own way. And she seemed genuinely interested in him, not just as a diplomat, but as a person. One evening, as the stars glimmered outside the embassy windows, a minor alarm went off. The station's security system had detected an intruder, a small group of rebels opposed to human involvement in the galactic embassy. They were fast, trying to slip past guards unnoticed. Ethan's heart pounded. He glanced at Liara, who seemed calm but alert. Without thinking, he moved toward the main hall, instinctively protecting the princess. "Stay close," he said quietly. Liara nodded, adjusting the jacket for freedom of movement. She followed him, her steps graceful and precise. Together, they moved through the corridors, avoiding the intruders and guiding other diplomats to safe areas. Ethan was surprised by how quickly she adapted. Despite her royal upbringing, she was resourceful and quick-thinking, able to understand human style, strategy on the spot. The intruders were caught without harm, and the embassy's security returned to normal. Yet something had changed between Ethan and Liara. "Thank you," she said softly, once they were safe. "You acted bravely." Ethan shook his head. "It was nothing. I just did what I thought was right." Liara looked down at the jacket, slightly torn at the hem from brushing against a security door during the incident. "Your gift," she said carefully, touching the fabric, "protected me in a way I did not expect." Ethan's chest tightened. That simple human jacket meant as a joke had actually been useful. Somehow it had become a part of her life, and now a part of a small adventure that could have gone badly. Over the following days, Ethan and Liara spent more informal time together. He helped her adjust the jacket, suggesting minor changes for comfort. She laughed at some of his human quirks, and he marveled at how naturally she adapted them to her alien physiology. The jacket, which had started as a joke, had become a bridge, a way for them to learn from each other. During one quiet evening as they watched the stars from the embassy balcony, Liara spoke again. "I do not fully understand humans, Ethan, yet there is honesty in your actions. Small things, gestures, they have meaning." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, sometimes humans say more with actions than words. That jacket, I never thought it would mean this much." Liara's gaze softened. "It means more than warmth," she said almost shyly. "It means trust and friendship." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with clothing. "I'm glad," he said. "I like this friendship too." And in that moment he realized that humans had a quiet strength, not the kind measured by weapons or politics, but the kind that could touch hearts, cross worlds, and build connections in ways even the smartest aliens sometimes missed. The jacket, silly as it seemed, had become the symbol of that human strength, and, for the first time, Ethan wondered if maybe, just maybe, a joke could turn into something far bigger than he had ever imagined. The jacket had become more than just clothing. To Ethan, it was a symbol, a connection that bridged the gap between humans and Frostrians, and to Princess Liara, it was a small comfort, a reminder of warmth and curiosity in a world filled with rules and expectations. One morning, Ethan found Liara in the embassy's craft room, a space designed for cultural exchange and experimentation. Tables were covered with fabrics, tools, and holographic sewing patterns from many planets. Liara was studying the jacket carefully, tracing her fingers over the material and the stitching. "You are making changes?" Ethan asked, a mix of curiosity and nervousness in his voice. Liara looked up and nodded. "Yes, your human jacket is functional, but I wish to adapt it for my body, my climate, and my customs. I wish to understand humans through this." Ethan felt his stomach tighten. She wanted to learn from him through something as simple as a jacket. "I can help," he said softly. "We can make it better together." Liara's eyes brightened. "Then teach me." The next few hours were filled with laughter, conversation, and careful adjustments. Ethan showed her how humans sew buttons and reinforce fabric seams. Liara taught him how Frostrian materials could be layered for warmth and flexibility. They experimented with combining human design with alien innovation, creating small upgrades. a sleeve adjustment for better movement, a luminous trim for low-light visibility, and even tiny internal pockets that glowed softly to hold essential tools. Ethan watched in amazement. The jacket had started as a joke, but now it was a collaborative creation. Each stitch, each adjustment, told a story of two very different beings learning from one another. As they worked, other diplomats began to notice. Some were curious, others skeptical. A Martian ambassador leaned over and whispered to his aide, "What is that, human arrogance?" Ethan ignored the whispers. Liara, too, seemed unfazed. She focused on the jacket, occasionally smiling at him as if sharing a secret. He realized then that this small act of creativity, simple and human, was already breaking barriers between cultures. By the time evening arrived, the jacket was transformed. It fit Liara perfectly now, moving gracefully with her alien form. The luminous trim glimmered like a river of stars, and the pockets were cleverly hidden yet functional. Liara turned in a slow circle, testing its movement. "It is perfect," she said softly, almost reverently. "It is human, yet Frostrian. It is our creation." Ethan smiled, feeling a mix of pride and affection. "It looks amazing," he said. "You wear it well." Liara's cheeks shimmered faintly under the embassy lights, a Frostrian form of blushing. "I like to wear it, and it reminds me of your humor, your kindness, your perspective." Ethan's heart raced. He had never expected a jacket to carry so much meaning. Yet here it was, a symbol of trust, collaboration, and growing friendship. A few days later, a formal diplomatic gathering took place in the main hall. Dignitaries from across the galaxy arrived, their attire extravagant and colorful. Ethan and Liara entered together. She wore the upgraded jacket paired with her royal robes. It was both elegant and human-inspired, drawing curious eyes from the crowd. Whispers spread quickly. "Is that human design? A Frostrian princess wearing a human jacket? Is this cultural blending?" Ethan felt nervous, but Liara moved with confidence. She smiled at him, and he realized something important. She was proud of their work. She was showing the galaxy that humans and aliens could learn from one another, not through speeches or decrees, but through small, meaningful actions. When they reached the podium, Liara spoke first, introducing herself and acknowledging the importance of cooperation between worlds. Then she gestured to the jacket. "This garment," she said, voice calm and clear, "is not just clothing. It represents understanding, trust, and shared effort. My human friend helped me create it, and together, we learned from each other." The crowd fell silent for a moment. Then slowly applause began. Not just polite clapping, but genuine recognition of the Gumans in the embassy exchanged proud glances. Alien D. The jacket had become more than fabric. It was now a symbol, a quiet emblem of trust, friendship, and understanding between Ethan, a simple human diplomat, and Princess Liara, one of the most powerful figures in the galaxy. Yet as much as it symbolized connection, it also began to attract attention, some approving, some questioning. One morning, Ethan walked into the embassy hall, ready for another day of diplomatic meetings. He spotted Liara before she saw him, standing near a tall window that overlooked the station's docking bays. The upgraded jacket clung perfectly to her shoulders, glowing slightly from the soft lights embedded in its seams. Ethan felt that familiar warmth of pride and admiration rise inside him. He approached her quietly. "Good morning, Princess. Still wearing the jacket?" Liara turned, a small smile lighting her face. "Yes, I have worn it every day. It reminds me of your kindness and humor, and it is practical." Ethan chuckled. "I didn't think it would become a daily habit." "It did," she said simply, her voice calm yet firm. "And it is mine now. In a way, it symbolizes something more." He nodded, sensing what she meant. The jacket had become a shared memory, a quiet bond they both understood. It wasn't just clothing anymore. It represented connection across species, a gesture of humanity's ability to care. That afternoon, a meeting with a group of alien diplomats turned tense. Some of Liara's advisors whispered disapproval, arguing that the princess was humanized too much by wearing foreign clothing. The council murmured that she should display Frostrian tradition fully, without influence from other species. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. He knew that defending the jacket would mean more than just protecting fashion. It meant standing up for a symbol of human values: empathy, trust, and collaboration. During the formal session, one of the alien ambassadors raised the point bluntly. "Your Highness," he said, eyes narrowing at the glowing jacket. "Why do you wear this human design? Is it proper for a Frostrian ruler?" Liara's gaze was calm. "It is my choice, and it is a collaboration. This jacket was not meant to change me, nor is it an act of human influence. It is a symbol of trust, creativity, and friendship." Ethan watched as her words caused a stir. Some diplomats frowned, some whispered to each other, and a few nodded, slowly. He realized in that moment that humans had power, not through force but through empathy and action that inspired others. When the session ended, Liara found Ethan in a quiet hallway. The jacket shimmered softly in the ambient light. "Thank you for supporting me," she said, her tone sincere. "You spoke for what is right, not what is expected. That is, human." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "I just wanted to make sure your choice was respected, and that this gesture, our gesture, was understood." Liara's silver blue eyes softened. "It is understood, by me, and now, by others. Slowly." Over the next few days, the jacket became a topic of curiosity in the embassy. Humans, aliens, and even the media from different planets commented on it. Some saw it as a simple cultural exchange. Others recognized the deeper meaning. A human had bridged a gap not through power or influence, but through a small, thoughtful gesture. Ethan noticed how Liara handled the attention. She wore the jacket proudly, her posture regal yet approachable, and every time their eyes met he could see a silent acknowledgement. The jacket represented their growing bond, built from trust and shared understanding. One evening, Liara invited Ethan to her private study, a room filled with crystalline sculptures and holographic maps of Frostris. She wore the jacket as usual, the soft glow highlighting the contours of her robes. "I have been thinking," she began, her voice calm, "about what this jacket represents, not just to me but to others. Small gestures can have large meaning. A simple gift, a shared moment, can inspire more than grand declarations." Ethan nodded slowly. Humans believe in small acts of care. Sometimes, those acts mean more than anything else. They build trust, friendship, and understanding. It seems you see that too. Liara reached for a small device on her desk and handed it to him. It was a tiny, alien-crafted accessory designed to attach to the jacket. Soft, luminous, and functional. "For you," she said simply, "a token, so that your gesture, our gesture, is remembered." Ethan accepted it, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the fabric. "Thank you," he said. "It means a lot." Liara smiled. "It should, and so should you. Humans are capable of creating connections that last, even with beings from far worlds." Ethan realized in that quiet study that the jacket had done more than bridge two hearts. It had begun to change perceptions of humans across the galaxy, showing that courage, empathy, and kindness could inspire respect even in the most skeptical of species. In the days that followed, he watched Liara wear the jacket in public, at meetings, and even during diplomatic ceremonies. Each time she carried herself with confidence and pride, silently proving that humanity's strength was not in domination or weapons, but in connection, creativity, and trust. And as he observed, her Ethan felt something new, a deep affection growing quietly yet undeniably. He realized that the joke he had made, the simple act of lending a jacket, had become the foundation of a friendship and bond that crossed worlds. The jacket, silly as it had seemed at first, had become a symbol of human values, courage, and heart. It had started as a joke, but now it represented something far greater: connection, understanding, and hope. Ethan smiled as he watched Liara adjust it for comfort, feeling proud not just of the jacket, but of what it stood for. And in that moment, he knew that humanity's strength lay in small, thoughtful acts that could change hearts, and maybe even the galaxy, one gesture at a time. The embassy had quieted down after weeks of meetings, formal gatherings, and diplomatic ceremonies. Yet for Ethan, the station never felt more alive. Every glance across the hall seemed to catch Liara adjusting the jacket he had lent her, a gesture that had started as a joke but had become something far more meaningful. That morning, Ethan was called to the observation deck. The room was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of distant stars. He found Liara already there, her silver blue eyes reflecting countless suns and planets. The upgraded jacket hugged her shoulders perfectly, the luminous trim softly glowing. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, her voice calm but warm. "Good morning, Princess," he replied, smiling. "You look at ease." Liara tilted her head. "I am. This jacket reminds me of your world, your humor, your kindness. And it reminds me that small gestures can mean much more than expected." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He had never imagined that a simple human joke lending a jacket would carry such weight. Yet here it was, worn daily by a princess, admired by diplomats, and now quietly symbolizing trust, connection, and friendship between worlds. "I never thought it would mean this much to you," he said softly. Liara shook her head. "It is. Not just the jacket, Ethan, it is the gesture behind it. The willingness to give, even when it seems small. That is human strength." Ethan smiled. Humans were often underestimated by more advanced species, their small acts dismissed as trivial. Yet time and again, humanity's kindness, humor, and courage proved otherwise, and Liara had just acknowledged it. Over the following week, the jacket continued to be a bridge between cultures. Alien diplomats who had once questioned its presence now viewed it with curiosity, even respect. Some asked about human customs, others admired the craftsmanship of the upgraded design. And through it all, Liara wore the jacket proudly, a subtle testament to what humans could inspire. One afternoon, Ethan and Liara walked along the embassy's garden paths, lit with floating bioluminescent plants. They moved quietly, sharing stories about home planets, traditions, and dreams. "You know," Ethan said, "I never imagined a jacket could bring us together like this." Liara smiled softly, adjusting the luminous trim. "Nor I, yet it has. It has taught me. Humans are remarkable. You teach without force, you act with care, and you inspire, even through simple gestures." Ethan felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the jacket. He had spent years thinking humans were ordinary, fragile even in the vast galaxy. But here he stood, witnessing Liara, a powerful princess, value something human so deeply. He realized that humanity's strength lay in connection, empathy, and trust, qualities often overlooked by those who measured power differently. Days later, a small celebration was held in the embassy to honor interstellar collaboration. Representatives from countless worlds attended, and Liara entered wearing the jacket one final time for the ceremony. This time she paired it with a ceremonial sash, blending human-inspired practicality with Frostrian elegance. As she addressed the crowd, she gestured subtly to Ethan. "This jacket," she said, her voice clear and confident, "represents collaboration, trust, and understanding. My human friend and I worked together to create something new. A small gesture, meant as a joke, has become a symbol of friendship across worlds. The crowd erupted in polite applause, but Ethan noticed more than that. He saw smiles of genuine admiration, nods of understanding, and even a few aliens quietly impressed by the human ability to connect hearts rather than just worlds. After the ceremony, Liara led Ethan to a quiet balcony overlooking the galaxy. Stars stretched endlessly before them, distant suns twinkling like scattered diamonds. She adjusted the jacket, then looked at him with her calm, silver blue eyes. "Ethan," she said softly, "this jacket